Hi, all. Happy Saturday. I am hopping on here today to go into a little bit more detail around the inner child. And I have a visualization on my channel. I'll link it or put the link below this one. I have a visualization that takes you through seeing your inner children, your any aspects of you that are not with you, and allows you to integrate them. But it's something that has come up so often over the last several weeks for me in sessions. And I personally feel like the big work that we are to do in order to be sovereign, in order to be empowered, be embodied, it begins with the inner child. Because you can do any kind of energy work, yoga, you can do any kind of energetic modality, or use any kind of modality or any kind of practice. And if you are not working on your on soothing your inner child, you're only going to go so high. And what is happening for so many people lately is that they are encountering issues that are issues and challenges that are kind of normal to life. Jobs ending, friendships ending, relationships ending, and finding themselves completely dysregulated afterward. Meaning that they're unable to get to a place where they can feel in their body or feel calm. Why? Why is it happening? Because the inner child is activated. So if you haven't done work with your inner child, if you haven't found the parts of you that dissociated when they felt abandoned or felt afraid or depressed, unworthy, so any of the energies that are not love, which are basically programs here, fear is a program. So anytime they have encountered these programs to a point that it was overwhelming, they dissociated. And so what happens is, for instance, a 2-year-old that is left with a new babysitter and afraid, she will feel abandoned, she'll feel fear, might even feel anger, and dissociate. And what I mean by dissociate is that she sends the little piece of her away that is feeling abandoned and fearful and angry in order to preserve herself, right? And so what happens to that inner 2-year-old is that she gets put into a little compartment, or like the video where I talk about how to change your life, and talking about how we can have little time capsules in our field. Your inner children are definitely in time capsules in your field if you haven't truly done the work. This is definitely not a one and done. And so that inner 2-year-old sits in that compartment with abandonment, with fear, with anger, and the little human goes about their, business. And then the 4-year-old, her friend doesn't want to play with her, at daycare. And so she dissociates, and then she's in a compartment with her rejection, with depression, with unworthiness, right? And so you can see where all of these little instances throughout your life, and particularly folks who had a traumatic childhood. I had an extremely traumatic childhood. And, as a walk-in, the inner child thing is different for me because I'm unable to integrate inner children that belong to another soul, right? However, I still have to clear them from my field. While I'm not integrating them, I clear them. And before they're cleared, I feel all the intense, like all the fight or flight, all of the intense fear, the conscious mind taking over, the ego taking over, right? I feel it. I know what it feels like. Even if it's not, mine to integrate, I've experienced it. And so I know how out of sorts you can feel if your inner child is triggered by abandonment. Or, growing up as a kid, maybe you lived somewhere or somebody called you poor, or your parents struggled to put food on the table, or whatever it is, and it was fearful, and so a part of you dissociated. And so losing your job will activate that inner child that is sitting with poverty consciousness and unworthiness and this kind of stuff, failure, inner field. And so I encourage you, first off, if you haven't watched the inner child visualization, do. But I encourage you to work with that visualization until no more inner children show up. And, if you don't want to sit there and do the entire visualization, you can just sit and close your eyes and ask from your heart, who's here? Which part of me is here? Is there a part of me here that needs soothing? And notice what comes up. And when I say notice what comes up, I don't expect you to have like full visualization, in your reality of 10-month-old you. However, what you will get is you'll get a flash of a baby picture at that age, or a flash of an infant, a 4-year-old you, or whatever it is. And then you're going to sit with that inner child and say whatever that inner child needs to hear to feel safe. I'm here now. I'm in charge. We're safe. It wasn't your fault. You're perfect just as you are. Whatever it is your inner child needs to hear. And do this until no inner children show up. Notice when you are becoming dysregulated to a point that seems excessive for the issue or challenge, right? Because that's what it is. How would a child handle somebody leaving a relationship? They're going to be in terror, right? They're going to be fearful, in abandonment, all these kind of things. So notice when your reaction to something seems out of proportion to what you're dealing with. And then sit down and start soothing that inner child. And when I say this is the important work, I talked a few weeks back about how I talked about flavors of fear. I've talked to you about how they are shaking our systems via epigenetics, right? They know what's in our system. They shake us up. It is much more difficult to shake your inner adult than it is your inner child. And so do this work. Do this work with your inner child now, and they won't be able to shake you. You are desensitizing buttons you know, times 100 if you take care of the buttons your inner child holds. I'm sending you guys a lot of love, and I'll see you soon.